What's happening, man?
Hey, what's going on? How are you?
Doing well. Good to see you. Good to talk to you. I'll just jump right into it. It's EricSwahnRacing.com podcast. I think number 127. Today we got Brandon Paasch. So thanks for coming on and talking to me for about an hour or two today.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks for having me. I've been meaning to come talk to you a little bit sooner, but just the schedule's been super busy and stuff. So
Sure. Well, thanks
glad
for
to be here.
taking the time. I appreciate it.
Definitely.
So this is all about you. This is all about getting your story, trying to dive deep. It's podcast format. You can ask me questions. We can go back and forth. But the stage is yours. Want to hear from you. Don't feel like you're rambling too much. Just want to get your story and let people learn about you a little bit.
Right on, for sure.
So you're in Florida now.
Yeah, we just moved to Florida. Me and my fiance moved to Florida just to one, she goes to school down here, so it makes sense. And two, the weather's a hell of a lot nicer down here than in New York, New Jersey. So we're down here and just getting to work.
Nice. Probably you can ride a lot longer throughout the year rather than snowing half the time in New York area.
Yeah, no, it's pretty good. We can ride literally year round down here. It gets a bit hot during the summer, but in the winter it's pretty good. And we got a couple tracks within a few hours down here, so it's definitely a good area for us for racing.
Yeah, there is no off season if you live in Florida.
No, yeah, definitely not, definitely not.
And so you have a lot of credentials to your name, I'd say. You got some Moto America stuff, some awards there. You got some British Superbike, got some Daytona victories. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah. For like the pro stuff, we've 2016 we won the KTM 390 Cup Championship in Moto America, and then from there kind of stepped up and jumped into super sport. And the next year after I won that championship, I kind of bounced around quite a bit racing. That year we raced Moto America Super Sport, British Moto 3, Junior World Championship Moto 3, Stock 600 in the British Championship, and I want to say I raced somewhere else too, but that was kind of a busy year. I think it was 4 or 5 different championships on like 7 different bikes. So
Damn.
I did a lot of racing in 2017, just all over the place, trying to find where I like could slot in, and that kind of set me up to make my full time British Championship debut in 2018 into the Moto 3 class. First year out in that on the Mahindra, we finished fifth, I think, in points, which was confidence inspiring for sure, and kind of got me set up to a point where I could jump on a team that I think could fight for the championship and had previously won championships in the 125 class. So for me, it was important to get on a better team the next year and then go fight for the title. And that's what we did. Won the title in 2019, the year after. And yeah, that was a really good year. First American to ever win a British title in any class. Hopkins
Congrats,
got
man.
close, but yeah, it was pretty sick. And end of that year, I did my first ever Junior World Championship Moto 2 race, which was pretty cool as well. And then I also did my first MotoGP race in 2019 in the Moto 3 class.
Heck yeah.
We became the first American to ever race in the Moto 3 World Championship, which is pretty cool. Kind of got outclassed a little bit there, but it was cool to be able to say that I've done it, and cool to see where I stacked up against all those guys. And showing up being the tallest and heaviest guy isn't always the easiest, but there's no excuse. We didn't qualify last, and we were we were ripping that weekend. I was feeling pretty good, loving it, and just that atmosphere is crazy. But from there, I was supposed to go 2020. I was actually supposed to race in the British Championship again, but on a Moto 2 bike, and then COVID hit.
Uh,
So I wound up staying home here in America, and last minute put together a super sport program. And first full year on the super sport bike, we finished third in the Moto America Championship super sport. And from there, I kind of went back to BSB because that's where I was supposed to be originally in 2020 anyways. I wasn't planning to come home. And I got back over there on the Factory Triumph team in super sport, and we had a couple good results. Started fighting towards the front, hit a couple podiums in a row, battling for podium again, and crashed after I just set pole position, broke my wrist, and missed a couple races, and then just kind of struggled to regain the momentum towards the end of 2021. And I think we finished fifth or eighth or something in the championship, but we had a few flashes of like I don't know, there was some light at the end of the tunnel, and it just never really came to fruition. But it was a good year of learning for sure, and pushing myself to my limits against the best 600 riders in England. And I knew I could run at the front back home. So to be able to run at the front in BSB was pretty cool too. And then, yeah, I don't know. From there, we came back to America again. It was like England, America, England, America. And come back home this year in the stock 1,000 class. Another new class for me, new bike, a different way of riding. And it took me a long time to kind of find my way and start understanding the bike and understanding the correct way to ride the thing, really, because those 1,000s are so technical, and it's definitely a specific style to kind of make the thing work. And I splatted myself the first time I rode it, knocked myself out, dislocated my shoulder. So I was a little timid for a little while there, just trying to regain the confidence and then start gaining some traction and moving up the grid. So
Yeah,
we
it
ended
sounds
the
like
season.
it sounds like a tough road going from one bike to another, from the 125 to the 250s, the 600 to the super sport class 750s, and now the 1000s. So each bike has its own challenges.
Yeah, for sure. And the thing is, for me, like, I've honestly, to this point in my career, I've never got to ride the same bike 2 years in a row. So every year it's like you hop on something new, and then you have to spend all this time learning and developing the bike and your style around the bike. And then you finally get comfortable and then get to the front and the year's over.
Yeah,
It's like, it's not easy to just jump into a new situation every year and learn everything real quick and get up to speed.
sure. And do you have like a home base that you feel like is your home now, because you keep jumping from country to country? Like, would you rather be in a certain place, or are you happy here?
Um, yeah, it depends really. Like, the situation for me, I'm pretty much happy anywhere I'm racing a motorcycle, which I don't know. I think it's pretty special to be able to actually race a motorcycle, and that's like what I do. So anywhere I can race, I'm pretty pumped with it. But I definitely do love the British Championship. It's such a different atmosphere over there, with like how much the people that show up to the track actually love the racing, and everybody's so involved and just loves to watch it. So when you go over there, it's a special thing. And it's just some energy that you don't get at the racetrack over here, which is really cool. But being home too is really nice for me, because like we're living in Florida now, we got dogs, and like it's cool to be home. And like, every time you come home, you're like, it's nice to be back home. Um, but yeah, I don't know. I do like racing in America too. It's just it's two completely different things. Like, everything about it's different, really.
Different tracks, not as many jumps. Like, I'm thinking Cadwell Park over there, or Alton Park, is it?
Yeah, Cadwell Park over there with the jump. Like, the tracks are totally different. Over there, the tracks are a little bit more narrow, usually a little bit tighter, more technical, and there's such a wide variety. We go from like Cadwell Park, which is no wider than, you couldn't even fit two American cars next to each other on that track. So you go from there to Thruxton, which is like 8 cars wide or more. Like, it's
Yeah.
like on a highway, but the pavement's old. Then you go from somewhere with old crack pavement like that, you go to Silverstone, which is one of the nicest tracks in the world. It's so crazy, like the variety of tracks and the technicality. And those guys can ride at any track, and they're all fast. And then you come to America, and everybody complains about the track safety, but they've not seen some of the tracks over there. It gets pretty gnarly. So um, I think the tracks in America are definitely a little bit safer and more. They're all pretty close to the same style in America, whereas England, they're all different.
Hmm. I gotcha. And do you see yourself doing any world championship stuff, whether it's World Superbike or going back to MotoGP at some time?
I'd like to. I think the MotoGP route's kind of tough. I'm 21 now. I'm getting a little bit older, and usually, if you were going to go to GP, you would have been in there already by my age. But like Bobier showed, you can kind of go a little bit later, but you gotta be a little special to get the opportunity. So, I mean, the GP thing, we'll find that out in time. I do think that I definitely don't have size on my side. I'm definitely a little bit bigger than most in GP, and that doesn't help my case. But as far as the World Superbike thing, I'd love to end up there one day. That's kind of my end goal, is to get to the World Championship. And yeah, I don't know. I'd like to be there and then stay there for a few years, not just get in and get out. But
Right.
It's not an easy thing to make it into the World Championship, obviously, and I definitely need to keep winning races over here or in BSB, whichever, and just keep winning, fighting at the front, and keep racing. And I'm sure it'll kind of work itself out.
Sounds like you've been doing pretty well at Daytona. You're wearing 2 Rolexes now.
Yeah, I do have 2 of them. I hardly ever wear them now. I'm trying to keep myself humble and wear the Garmin GPS watch that
Oh, there you go.
I was wearing before I won the Daytona Rolex. So
Yeah, one of those.
try and keep myself staying training and acting like I haven't won the 200 before, because you get comfortable winning them things and then you don't win, and everybody loves it when you win, but when you don't win, nobody wants to be your friend. So you got to keep winning, you know.
For sure. It's always like you're only as good as your last race. So it's always trying to beat that last one, trying to stay at the front all the time. It's a hard thing to do.
100%. It's a never ending goalpost that just keeps moving.
Yeah.
Like you get one of your goals and then you're satisfied for like 30 seconds and you're like, all right, well, what's the next step? Where
Yeah.
do we go from here? And then the goalpost just moves just a little bit farther and keeps you working.
Very good. And so what do you think of the new schedule for 2023 for Moto America?
I've been, I'm honestly kind of confused at like the thought process behind it. As far as the stock class goes, um, 2 years ago, the stock class did every round, and pretty much every round we had 2 races. And now they've moved it to only 5 rounds with 2 races. And it doesn't even make sense really for a team to do the stock class anymore, because you're spending all that money to travel everywhere and you only get 5 rounds. Like, I don't know. It doesn't make sense really to me, the how spread out it is, you know. But I guess to Moto America, for whatever reason, it made sense, and they're going to go down their own path. So we're just going to keep turning up and racing, whether it's stock class or not. I mean, I know the super sport schedule is looking a bit interesting as well, having a couple more endurance-ish races. It's kind of a pretty cool thing, I think. Pretty interested to see how that plays out, if it's going to be a hit or not. But yeah, it's
And
really interesting.
and so my thought behind their decision with less rounds but more races per round is it's probably cheaper for the teams that way, traveling to fewer events but having more races per event. But it's not. I don't like it as much because they're favoring like the build train race. They're favoring the hooligans and the Harleys, which I'm sure Harley and Indian are bringing big money, so they can't turn them away. But at the same time, it's like for the racers, we want to be at every track. We don't want to just do more races at one track.
Yeah, I mean, sitting out at certain rounds, like everybody's got their own favorite track. So being told that you can't ride at the Ridge and you love that track, that sucks. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, if we got all the tracks on the schedule, you kind of want to ride all of them. But I don't know. It is interesting that they're kind of favoring those other classes when that's not really, like, Moto America wasn't built on that. It was
Yeah.
built on super sport and super bike, and that's what American road racing is all about, is racing the best of the best super bikes and the best riders. And that's why this whole thing is what it is. And to kind of push the feeder classes out of the way to bring in this other stuff that doesn't really add to building super bike or super sport riders, it's like, it's a little confusing. I understand that it brings money in, and I love it. Honestly, I was thinking about racing the baggers. I think it's pretty badass, but it is a little bit strange that they would put that ahead of some of their classes that kind of help build the talent that ends up in their 2 premier classes anyways.
Yeah. They say that we're trying to follow World Superbike standards, but that's not what World Superbike's doing at all.
Yeah, World Superbike doesn't have a bagger class. And don't get me wrong, like I said, I do love the bagger class, and I have rode a bagger, and I think I'm going to be testing a bagger again pretty soon here. But um, yeah, it just confuses me a little bit that they prioritize that over like stock thousand and even the Twins Cup. Like, they're kind of not giving the Twins Cup as much attention anymore, but it's the biggest grid in Moto America, and all those riders are spending their money to be there, and they're kind of like, eh,
Yeah.
It's not like, to me, I think that those smaller classes, the Stock 1000 and the Twins Cup, should be getting more time than anybody because they're the two biggest grids, and it's the races that people are spending their own money to show up to race. So I think they should be kind of helping those classes more than taking races away and not focusing on them so much. But that's just my opinion.
For sure, it's good to hear different people's perspectives on things, and I think it's a shame that there's no VIR on the schedule coming up this year.
Yeah, that was another interesting one. I love VIR, but from what I was told, they just couldn't get a good date that would have worked for the calendar, which is understandable because you start booking events like that on days where you know that the attendance isn't going to be good. It's not good for business, and you have one bad weekend like that doesn't get anybody to show up and doesn't get any viewers, and that kind of ruins the ratings for the series for the year, brings the whole thing down. So they kind of got to do what's best for the series and keep their numbers up for sure.
Is there another track that you'd like to see on the calendar that isn't yet or hasn't been?
Honestly, I don't really know where they could go. There's not a whole bunch of other tracks that are not on the calendar that are really good. I mean, I'm working with the phone today. I just got home from a flat track race for the past 3 days, so
nice.
I don't even know where my laptop is. Just picked up Ashton Yates.
Hey man.
And we just got back to my house. So I'm doing it on my phone, and I got the phone leaning on a trophy. but yeah, I don't know. As far as tracks that are not already on the calendar, I don't really know. I think Utah would be a cool one to go back to, and then somewhere like, we never got to race Mid Ohio, at least like me and like the people that are around my age. So I think that would be a cool one to do.
They just got to repave the whole track because the track is garbage. The surface.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, we do ride some questionable stuff, at least in Europe, anyways. But I don't know. If there was a track that was really, really good, I think that we would all probably know about it, and we'd probably be going there. So I don't think that there really is too many places that we don't race, that we don't, I don't know.
Or maybe like I'm thinking maybe Thunder Hill or like Las Vegas Motor Speedway, or Utah's a big one. It seems like a shame it's not on the schedule, but I know they were going through different management changes over the years.
Yeah, they always seem like they've got different stuff going on, and that one was one of my favorites, honestly, growing up, because we would go out there for the KTM Cup class, and I was going out there even before I raced in the KTM Cup to race like USGPRU and stuff on the little Moto3 bikes. So that track's pretty cool, and super fast and flowing, and kind of a longer track, more like a Road America kind of deal. And yeah, I don't know, super cool track, but for whatever reason, we just haven't gone back in a while. I know there is another track that's being built, I think in Tennessee, maybe. That place looks pretty cool.
Yeah, I've heard about maybe the Ozarks, I think.
Yeah, that might be what it's called. Yeah, I literally drove past it, I think, a couple weeks ago. I was on my way home from Texas driving to New York, and I drove past it, and I was like, damn, that place looks pretty sweet.
Yeah.
But I forgot the name of it. But yeah, I think that's it, the Ozarks track. Yeah.
And this year, we're not going to be racing with Moto America, or I'm sorry, MotoGP, because they're splitting it up so that they can have more classes be at the racetrack instead of only bringing one or two.
Yeah, I don't think that that's probably a good move, really, because anybody that's like gonna travel to COTA is gonna go for the World Championship race. They're not gonna travel all the way there from another state to go to our race that they could go to in their local state or the closest state to them, So I don't really think that's a good move, honestly, but what do I know? I'm not a promoter. I'm a racer. I mean, I can sit here and tell you all the things that I think about their promoting job, but at the end of the day, at least they're doing it, and I'm not doing it. So I don't really have the qualification to tell them they're doing it wrong. But yeah, I don't know. I think that they should be collaborating with GP instead of trying to compete on two different dates with them to compete for spectators. Doesn't make sense.
I hear that. It's going to be probably way smaller crowds, and then don't have that international audience at the same track.
Yeah, that's like, I don't know. I always loved like when I got the chance to go race at the GP and stuff like that. It's always a pretty cool experience to see how the GP paddock runs and like be around that whole scene, and it gets more eyes on the Moto America event rather than having them as two separate things where like I don't know. I just think that it should be combined, and I think it helps us, like helps Moto America and Moto America's riders. It gets more spotlight on us. So
Oh yeah, you got big team bosses at the same track, maybe watching the race when you're in it, instead of maybe they won't even tune in for the Moto America race.
yeah, well, and they get like the MotoGP commentators say stuff, mention the Moto America stuff on the GP broadcast, and then you get people that are in Europe that are watching the GP broadcast, and they notice at the end of the day there's still something else going on, so then they start watching Moto America. It's like it makes sense to me why they would do it, but it doesn't. I don't know. Maybe there's a reason why they're not racing, like a better reason. I don't know, but I was just thinking too on the GP topic. Cool track that we could go to is Indianapolis is pretty badass. I raced there in 2020 on the Super Sport, and that layout's pretty cool. It's super fun, but I don't know why we don't go there either.
It's probably just really expensive to rent out that track, but I know like Daytona is like $75,000 a day to rent out that track. So I'm sure Indy has got to be up there or even more. But yeah, it's a cool facility. I mean, you can fit like a 500,000 people in there, so why not do it?
Yeah, exactly. But you need a 500,000 people to fill the stands to make it worthwhile, probably. So
Yeah.
I don't know. It's one of those things that I think if we could get some traction on the actual like racing side of things in America, the spectator count would just keep going up, and then it makes it easier for the promoters to take us to tracks that we want to ride at, but that right now they can't necessarily afford to go to because they won't have a turnout. So
Right. And what do you if you were a promoter, what would you do to help boost ratings and fan attendance and like engagement?
I think I'd focus a lot more on social media and not necessarily trying to reinvent the wheel on social media, but using what already works and rolling with that. For example, like I don't know if you see that one of your riders that's in your series is posting certain things that's getting a lot of traction, you should probably post more things like that to kind of help build your social presence. I think that certain things that have been posted to the Moto America account, I watch it and I'm confused. Like they make memes, but it's like memes that I've not seen. Like I don't know where where they're finding some of the memes that they post, but I don't know. I really don't know what I would do. Honestly, I think I would probably really focus on social media, which is what they're already kind of doing. They're definitely putting more effort into the social media now than they were, but I think I would focus a lot on the social media stuff, and then I don't know why they don't do race week like autograph signing at a local dealership. Like
Hmm.
that should be a no brainer. They should be having pre race weekend events at certain places and inviting some riders out and invite like the top five in each class to a night before the race. So, like, why I don't understand why you can walk into a local dealership that's in the area of the race and they don't even know that there's a race going on. That
Yeah.
doesn't make sense to me at all. They should be spending a little bit more time doing that kind of stuff. But again, it's easier said than done. I'm not the guy that has to go out and find a dealership and mail stuff to them and come up with a collaboration. That's not my job. My job is to ride the motorcycle. But to me, it seems like that would be a good idea.
Yeah, you could have like a network of dealerships that maybe schedule group rides or maybe get discount on tickets if you bring 20 people or more, that kind of thing.
Right. Yeah. There's all kinds of ways that you can slice that up and make it worthwhile for everybody and also help grow the sport. Sorry. Help grow the sport because we need it. Like we need them to be putting in double the work to get the word out so we can get spectators, which then sells our merch and gets people to follow us, which helps bring in more sponsors. Like it's all about the attention and getting the attention on our sport. Um, I don't know. I really don't know what I would do.
I'm thinking like if NASCAR is so big as it is, like why can't motorcycle racing be up there or bigger?
Yeah, yeah, no, for sure. I think for me, I'm probably biased too because I do race motorcycles, but I do think that motorcycle racing is more entertaining just because you can actually see the physical input on the machine. Whereas like in the car, you can't really see what the car is doing, and it's not making as much movements, and it's not like you're in a roll cage and you can't see the car moving really. So I don't fully understand the attraction to it. Where like racing motorcycles, you got like all these different riding styles, and everybody has like their own unique style. And I don't know, it's like an art form riding the motorcycle. It's pretty badass, I think, but I might be a little bit biased.
No, I agree with you. I mean, I am too, but like it's so much more creative because there are so many different riding styles. There's not just one way to go around a corner. You know, there's you could have a teammate on the same bike, but ride it completely different with different settings.
Yeah, 100%. And you can still have the same lap time, even with different settings and different riding styles. So it's pretty interesting how these machines can get around the track in multiple different ways and still achieve the same result. But it's I don't know. Yeah.
And there's not just one school of thought. Like there's a lot of different riding schools out there that might teach similar things, but different techniques.
Yeah.
Whether it's the leg dangle or keeping your feet on the pegs, or getting your head low and your center of gravity as low as possible, seems to be a constant theme. But there's always different schools of thought.
Yeah, for sure. Everybody's got their own way of doing it. And kind of how I grew up racing was just to try everything and see what worked for me. And that's a big thing. Like you're only going to go fast when you're comfortable, and you got to figure out what makes you comfortable on the bike. So for me, it's always just try everything and learn as much as I can, and then see what works and what doesn't work for my particular comfortability side of things. Because, like I said, when I'm comfortable and I'm happy, I'm going fast. So um, it's just figuring out what gets you to that point quickest.
And where did you learn how to ride? You've been riding for a long time, it sounds like. Did you take any specific racing schools or riding schools?
Yeah, so I've been riding for a really long time. My godfather Andy actually is what kind of got me into it. He used to race like club level stuff and kind of got me racing motocross when I was a little kid, and just started doing that whole thing. And then we stumbled upon NJ Mini GP, and got me out there on the little CRF 50 and an NSR 50, and they kind of taught me the ropes from there, and eventually moved up to just doing track days. And but the schools that I did were mainly, the only school I really did as a young guy was American Super Camp, flat track stuff on a little TTR 125. And I used to do that every year when he would come to our area. I would go and do it.
Yeah.
And that was pretty much the only school that I've ever really done. The rest of it's been me kind of learning on my own. And I've worked with some of the people that run schools. Like I've worked with Jason Pridmore before, and uh, even Ken Hill, and
Okay.
I don't know who. I've worked with a couple other people too, but um, I've worked with them. That's all. I've not actually attended their school. They kind of treat me like as if I know what I'm doing, and they like for whatever reason they don't really like. Jason Pridmore's a bit different, but some of these other schools, like if I show up to like say a champ school, they don't really question my riding. They only um, I don't know. It's a strange thing. Like if I went to a school now, being me, they wouldn't really try to teach me anything. They would like basically be okay with what I'm doing, no matter if it goes against what they say or not. Like, um, so yeah, I mean, now it's kind of like I can't really go to school, but I can find a one or two different people to work with. Like Pridmore, for example, he'll come and help me at some Moto America events. Like if I go to him and I'm saying like, hey, I'm struggling here and here. What can we do? And how can I try and work around that? He always tries to always tries to help me out. But but yeah.
Once you get to a certain level, I mean, you've learned all the fundamentals. It's just tweaking this little puzzle piece over here, making it fit a little bit better, or changing a little bit of style for a particular corner, it sounds like.
Yeah, for sure. It's definitely the higher up the ladder you get, the smaller the changes are, and the smaller the difference in riders is. Um, like you can still kind of ride the bike your own way, but at a certain point, you kind of have to do certain things to make the bike work. So everybody's got their own like little differences in their style, but at the end of the day, we're all pretty much doing the same thing. But you also have to think too that certain bikes like certain inputs, like um, the R6 is you can roll that thing through the corner so fast, whereas like the Triumph, the thing doesn't handle on the side of the tire as good as the Yamaha. So each bike has their own little differences, and you kind of got to ride them a certain way. But once you figure out the style of each bike, then you're good to go.
And I know you've rode for a bunch of different teams, one of them being Altus. And what team are you going to be on this coming year?
Still kind of undecided. Um, Rides are kind of hard to find, honestly, at the moment, and I'm really hoping that I can make something happen and that I can find a job for myself for next year to go racing again and keep living that dream. But it's been so hard to kind of get myself in a position to even race next year. But we are talking to a few different teams and in a few different series and different classes and stuff, and trying to find where I would be happiest and be able to compete for race wins and do well, because that's also what makes me happy, is doing well and being happy with my results. So if I can put myself somewhere where I know I'll be able to get some results, like I said, that would make me happy. And I don't know, that opportunity just hasn't quite presented itself yet. So we'll see how that develops in the next couple of months here before the season starts, and hopefully something comes along.
Would you consider doing the Twins Cup or the Super Sport, or you want to stay 1000cc?
Honestly, I think I'd prefer to stay 1,000 in the 1,000 class, either stock or superbike. But if the right super sport ride presented itself, I wouldn't say no. And yeah, I want to be in a premier class. I think that I have the talent and the skills to fight for a championship in the stock class or in super sport. So I don't see a reason in going in any other class other than something like that. So um, yeah, I wanna put myself in a good situation where I can progress within Moto America or in the British Championship or wherever I decide to go. Put myself somewhere where I can progress and make it to the premier class of whatever I'm racing, you know.
Sounds like the hardest part is always just funding it. The racing part's the fun part. When it comes time for like signing the checks, that's the hard part.
Yeah, no, for sure. It always comes down to money in racing, and everybody complains about it, but that's just kind of the name of the game. So you know the game, figure out how to play it, and make it work for you. So it is a lot of work, though, trying to come up with funding every year and continue to put myself in that position and keep having to do the same thing every off season and keep grinding it out, and the emails and the phone calls and the countless hours that it takes to actually put yourself in that position to gain the support. It's very tricky and very time consuming, and it takes away from training and riding. So um, it's definitely not easy.
Is that something that you do yourself, or do you have like a team of people or managers or family that help you out with that?
I have a manager, Shaky Byrne. He's I think 6-time British Superbike champ. So
I know the
he's
name.
yeah, he's pretty legit, and he's definitely good. But I try to put in as much work as I still can, because heck, racing's so difficult, and just relying on what people say isn't the easiest sometimes, because people say one thing and then that check never shows up in the mail. So you always got to have a backup, and or at least always be looking for another sponsor. And that's what it's all about, just keeping the grind going and keeping up the behind the scenes work of writing the emails, making the phone calls, and just keep reaching out to people and talking to everybody, and just hustling, man. Just trying to keep the dream alive, keep racing motorcycles, and keep having fun doing it.
For sure. And it sounds like it's a never ending struggle, but would you consider yourself privateer or factory at this point?
Honestly, privateer, really, because even I mean, I have rode for factory supported teams, but I haven't technically rode for a factory. You could say that my Triumph deal in 2021 was factory, but even that, it's not 100% factory. It was really factory supported. So yeah, I'm definitely a privateer, living the privateer life. I just went and raced flat track the past 3 nights, and slept in my van all 3 nights, and like just living that life of doing what you got to do to keep riding motorcycle and keep racing. So
Yeah, I
yeah,
mean, there's probably
fun.
very few actually factory supported riders in this country, maybe a handful.
Yeah, there's a definitely a handful. There's some guys that are factory or factory-ish and stuff like that, and it's definitely hard to get a ride on a more factory-ish team, I would say. Um, but yeah, I mean, I don't know. Certain people work better in those environments, and certain people work better in the privateer kind of environment. And it's all about what suits you and where you can kind of place yourself. Like, I'd love to be on a factory team, but at the same time, I'm not too against what I'm doing. I really enjoy racing, how I be racing, and training and driving my ass all over the place and just keeping the show going. It's just fun for me doing kind of my own thing and posting what I want on social media and having fun and just enjoying my life and making some money doing it is even better. But we really don't make a whole lot of money, but we just do it because we love it. So
Do you think it would change the dynamic if you were on a major factory team where you can't say XYZ and now you have to be at all these signing events? You know, does it make it more stressful then if you have all these people watching over your shoulder?
yeah, for sure. I've kind of lived that a little bit where you're kind of censored and like I don't know. It's definitely a different, like, it's different for sure. I'm not saying it's better or worse. I think it's, like I said, I think just racing motorcycles is pretty cool. But it is definitely interesting when you get put in those situations where you now have to think about everything you say and everything you post. And you have to be at this place and this place on time. And you can't be late for signings. And you got to be on top of all this extra stuff. And it is a lot. It's definitely a little bit more intense, and there's more pressure because then you're expected to perform. But yeah, it's not better or worse. I don't think. I mean, if anything, it can only really be better because if you're on a factory team, usually the paycheck's a little bit bigger. So
Yeah. And you ever do any like media training, or is it all just based on like just doing it and learning as you go?
I kind of just learn as I go. Just keep. I talk to a lot of people, and I spend a lot of time like on the phone, just bullshitting with people, and I don't know. I think it's something that you kind of need to pick up on your own. Like people can tell you what to do and what to say, and you can kind of be trained for it to an extent. But at the same time, it's one of those things that you learn through a lot of experience. And I don't know. I think training definitely would help, and it would probably help me. But I uh, I just like to go for it, figure it out on my own.
I feel like one of the biggest things is if you're doing a podium speech and then you can hear yourself reverberating in the background as you're trying to not listen to yourself speak, you know, and not getting caught up on you're listening to yourself, but what the reporter is saying in front of you, you know?
Yeah, I when I hear that, I don't really focus on it too much. I kind of just keep spitballing stuff because in those moments, you're never gonna be 100% switched on in the head, like to say everything perfect. Like you just got off the track from doing 175 miles an hour, 180 miles an hour, and you're just out there for 35, 40 minutes in the baking sun. Like you're never going to be thinking clear enough to say the perfect thing on the podium. So I kind of just like to free ball it and kind of hope for the best. But I don't know. I think I do a pretty good job of just letting stuff flow out of my mouth, and I don't sound too horrible on the podium, I guess. But it is difficult at times. It can definitely be challenging, especially when they ask you a question that's a little bit more tricky to answer. You kind of almost need to stop and think about it for a second before you respond, because especially in the heat of the moment, you'll say something that you instantly regret.
Yeah, you maybe didn't mean, but just kind of came out, slipped out.
Yeah, there's a couple riders in the Moto America paddock that are pretty good for it, and they say stuff, and then the next day on social media, they're like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean it, I didn't mean it," but they do it over and over and over again. So um, I don't know.
I feel like Josh Heron is maybe one of those characters. Like I think at New Jersey he called out Moto America for like not stopping the race for in the rain. He's like, we should that race should have been stopped. I don't know why they keep going, you know, stuff like that.
Yeah, I don't know. I try to not really get involved in too much drama anymore. I used to be pretty big on the poking at people and just stirring the pot, but I'm kind of getting to a point where I'm just like, man, I just want to show up and race my bike and not have all this drama going on and just do what I love instead of having to kind of shit talk and be that guy that's like poking at everybody, trying to get people excited to come race. Like I just want to show up and have fun and ride and enjoy the weekend and enjoy my job.
Yeah, for sure. It just adds to the drama factor. People sometimes tune in more because they want to see, what so and so said to so and so.
Yo, for sure. I definitely I still do poke at people, and like I'm sure with Daytona coming up, I'll have a couple of words going back and forth with different riders and stuff like that. And I'm not scared of it. I actually quite enjoy trash talking and just shit talking back and forth with different riders and even going public with it on social media. I love it. I think it's so funny, but it's just very time consuming. I'd rather focus on my training and making sure that I got myself dialed in before I'm uh, sounding like a fool on social media when I don't win or if I make a mistake, So I've just kind of been shying away from it a little bit recently, just to kind of focus on myself and get back to 100% mentally, physically, and on the track. So.
Yeah, so tell me about what you do for training. You said you do some flat track racing this weekend. I know you do some supermoto. So tell me about that stuff.
Yeah, I've been doing a lot of supermoto the past few years, just riding all the time as much as I can, and I got a couple 450s out here in Florida that I'm always riding, and there's a few tracks that are pretty local, so I go ride supermoto more than I ride anything else. And then the dirt track stuff just went out. I actually haven't ridden flat track much at all this year, or recently at all, actually, until this past weekend. I just did a 3-day event with four different tracks. So we did a indoor short track, outdoor short track, a big super TT, and then a 3/8 mile oval. So
Okay.
kind of got a little bit of everything the past few days, and I haven't really been riding much dirt track the past few years at all. So kind of relearning everything and figuring it back out, and trying to learn how to go really fast on a dirt track bike, because that's one of my goals, is to do an AMA national at some point. And I think it would be super cool to in one year be able to do a AFT event, a AMA Supermoto event, Racing Moto America, and all that stuff. So I think it'd be pretty cool.
Go the JD Beach route.
Yeah, I mean, yes and no. JD is he's cool and he's really fast, but I don't think he's not doing two different things anymore at the same time. He's kind of gone now full-time flat track, and I don't see myself ever really doing that, just because it is so challenging, and it's a very tricky sport to get good at and to be good at all the different tracks. Like you can go to two short tracks and they're not the same because the ground's different. Like it's so tricky to be good at every single track. So for me, I'd honestly rather just do one or two events here or there and keep my skills sharp, keep riding, keep learning different skill sets and stuff like that. And then I also ride a little bit of motocross too, but just not as often as supermoto and flat track, because it is quite dangerous. 2 years ago, before the first Daytona that I won, I think it was about 2 weeks before the event, I cased a jump riding moto, tore 3 ligaments in my ankle, and that definitely made my job at Daytona a lot more difficult. But yeah, I don't know. I love riding moto. I wish I could do it more often, but it is a big risk for sure.
It's people don't realize, like when you crash and you're doing motocross, you stick instead of slide. Even though you're going 200 miles an hour on a super bike, you slide for a long time, you're pretty much fine. You might be bruised up a little bit, but it's very different crashes.
Yeah, the crashes are way different. I don't know. Also, you're flying up in the air and then coming down. Like it's it's a little sketchy for sure. I mean, I love doing it, don't get me wrong, but like I said, it is a big risk, especially I don't have the time to put into it like I do to my other like forms of riding. So my dogs are coming up.
Hey guys.
I don't have the time to put into it to kind of get good at it like I do with road racing and supermoto. So, and it takes a lot longer to get good at moto than it does to get good at what we do, I think. So yeah, it's one of those things that if I did have more time, I would probably do it more. But it's difficult to kind of risk all that, especially when you got big races every other weekend all summer. So
sure. So with that danger, is there anything ever in your contracts, like you can't go skydiving or mountain climbing or like doing other dangerous activities like that?
Not really. My contracts all have actually been pretty straightforward and self-explanatory. I mean, anything that you think that you shouldn't do, you probably shouldn't do, but um, it is a risk. And some of my contracts have said like I can't ride certain manufacturers. I can't go do certain races without having it cleared by the team. I can't ride for other teams. Little stuff like that where they kind of do have quite a bit of control, but at the same time, it's tough to accept those things in your contract when you're paying a race. So
Yeah. It's
I
coming
don't
out of
know.
pocket. It's like, how can you tell me I can't do this? But they don't want you
Yeah,
to compete with other teams. I get that.
yeah. It's like if you're gonna tell me that I can't ride motocross or I can't ride fly track or I can't uh I can't go ride on the street or I can't do certain things, it's like uh, if you're not getting paid, I feel like you can't really be told what to do. But that's just how the industry is, and you kind of gotta accept it. And I mean, most forms of professional racing, you can't do stuff like that. So we got to keep it professional, or as professional as we can, anyways, and just listen to the rules of whatever contract I wind up in and get on with it. It's only a year or two or a couple of years, so yeah, you kind of just got to get on with it, do whatever it says. And
I just think of like I think it was Mark Webber, Formula One driver for many years. Never really gets injured in the car, and then he's bicycling down a road and breaks his leg. Like, oh, that's so stupid. Like, how does that happen?
yeah, and honestly, those silly little crashes can happen doing whatever you're doing. Like, I could go walk out into my driveway and trip and fall and break my arm. Like,
Yeah.
it, your body's fragile, and shit happens. Like, mistakes get made all the time, and unfortunately, some things have a little bit higher risk to reward value. But I don't know. It's a tricky one for sure. Got to be careful.
For sure. And what's it like training with some greats? I see one sitting behind you, three generations of racers in his family. You got Lucky, Aaron, Ashton. Sounds like you train with those guys a lot.
Yeah, I ride with Ashton quite a bit. He's super cool, and coming down to Florida to get laps, and it's sweet having him come out and ride with me. It's always good having somebody that's just as good as you, if not better, at certain tracks and certain times. And he pushes me, and I think I push him a little bit too. So it's good for both of us really to kind of be riding together and hopefully helping each other improve a little bit here and there and go faster, because that's what we're trying to do, is just keep getting better. So having fast guys to ride with is super important for me. And yeah, Ashton's perfect person to come out and ride with, and always makes it fun being at the track. So
and do you ever like find each other on the racetrack, say like, hey, I need to tow through this corner, can you help me out here? Or like trading data or looking at each other's telemetry?
I'm sure if we were in the same class, maybe, but it's difficult when I'm on the stock bike and he's on superbike this year. So he's also pretty busy trying to sort that superbike out and figure out how to go fast on that thing, and then I'm trying to figure out how to go fast on the stock bike. So we never really got to spend a whole bunch of time on track together this year, and honestly, we haven't really raced that much together in the past few years. Anyways, we kind of always just miss each other, really. Like,
Yeah.
I was racing Super Sport Moto America. Ashton was in Stock 1000 already, I think. Right? So we didn't really get to race each other, but in the KTM Cup, and that was 7 years ago. I know, like, it's been kind of a while.
Now, talking about the KTM Cup, do you think that they should bring back a spec series, like all the same manufacturer, same bike, same everything, limited parts? Or do you think
Yeah,
that really limits like obviously it's going to limit the amount of manufacturers who are going to participate, but it might make a cleaner or tighter racing?
I think it would be cool if Moto America had their own thing where all the bikes showed up in one truck. You get a different bike every weekend, and everybody's on the same thing. And that's what really gets the fast guys to the front. And it was the same when we did KTM Cup. Like, yeah, okay, there you could take your bike home, and I'm sure some people were fiddling with the thing and getting a little extra out of it that wasn't necessarily, maybe not illegal, but maybe not legal.
Yeah, in the gray area.
Yeah, somewhere in the gray. But then you get like me, Ashton, and all the guys that were fast in the KTM Cup are still going pretty good at whatever they're doing now. So I think it's definitely a good way to build fast riders and build people that are gonna grow up to kind of be able to compete in the higher classes, because you learn how to make that work for you and get the best out of what you have rather than kind of buying upgrades, you know.
Sure. And would you ever see yourself doing like a CEV championship over in the Europe and Spain?
Yeah, I've done a couple CEV races. CEV and CIV is cool too. I wouldn't mind going there to do that stuff, but it is very expensive to get on a team in the CEV or CIV for that matter. You're looking 6 figures minimum, so
Oof.
it's not easy to get into a team over there, and it's a lot of money, but it is a lot of fun. The tracks are pretty badass, and all the bikes are good. Moto2 bikes are pretty cool to ride, so I'd love to do it. I just don't see myself having the funding to do it in any time recent or any time in the near future.
Yeah, it's like they're showing up with multiple semi trucks, plane ticket to every race. Don't touch the bike. You're the rider. You're sitting in a well, not a lazy boy chair, but a nice chair in the pit garage with your feet up, that kind of thing.
Yeah, no, if I if I had the dream scenario, I think I would be riding for a team in CIV, CEV, British Championship, Moto America, and just going to all the races that I want to go to. Go do Cadwell Park, go do Catalunya, go do I don't know, the Ridge, like just do the races that I want to do, Daytona, like the fun ones for me, the tracks that I love riding. Go do those ones and kind of not even worry about chasing championships if money wasn't an object. But it's strange because like you get fighters and they kind of bounce around weight classes and they're not always fighting for a title and like it's a different sort of thing. But I think that in racing it would be cool if you could go do one-off events and like get paid to go do the Loudon Classic, get paid to go do Daytona, get paid to go race at just Cadwell, get paid to go race at the Macau GP, get paid to go do Aragon and CV, like do the races that you want to do and kind of bounce around. But the industry kind of frowns upon that, and it's really only focused on main seasons and winning overall championships rather than races. So
yeah, it just takes money. It's like if you got 1 million followers, maybe you could make that happen, but it's all about like eyeballs and engagement and clicks and all that.
yeah, it's tricky. And I think that right now racing is in a bit of a limbo between like sponsors caring about TV and sponsors only caring about social media, and then sponsors caring about results. But then some sponsors don't care about results. They only care about social media. So it's kind of in a tricky place right now. And I think a lot of teams and riders don't even know what to ask for from companies, because you're like not even sure what they're looking for as far as their marketing and stuff goes. And like some companies will just think that racing's cool, so they want to sponsor a race team. But then other companies think that because you're getting 3 million impressions on your social media a month, that's what they need, and it's going to help their business. So it's all about understanding who you're talking to and figuring out the best approach to it. But that makes it even more tricky to find sponsors to race, because some riders don't have any social media presence. Like Gagne, he posts like maybe 5 times a year on Instagram. Like he doesn't really put in any effort. And if guys like Gagne would post more on social media, even though that's not necessarily what they want to do, it would grow the sport, because he's the top dog and he doesn't post anything on social media. It's like people want to see more of what the number one guy is doing, and number one guy ain't posting nothing.
Yeah, he's secretive about it seems like.
Yeah, I mean it's definitely, don't give away all your secrets, but I think engaging with the fans and talking to people online and keeping people interested is going to help grow the sport. And to kind of not be posting anything, it's I mean that's just who he is, though. I guess certain people just aren't about posting on social media and don't want to do it. And they're right. Our job is to race motorcycles, but keeping the fans more engaged and stuff kind of helps grow the sport and keeps our paychecks up and keeps everything going, keeps the show moving. So, yeah.
I feel like he's one of those guys where he's like, I'm just going to prove it on track. I don't need to even do this social media stuff. And like, he's got one of the best teams in the country right now backing him. So he's like, I'll just show you on track.
Yeah, and it's super cool though that he does that because he is the man. He shows up. He's always at the front, and Jake's legit. He's an actual animal on the track, and he rides all the time. And I don't know. I think it's just the way he is. He just probably doesn't like social media, so he just doesn't do it, and he
Yeah.
doesn't have to do it. But it would be cool to see a little bit more, even for us, like for me and like the guys that we're not factory, but we're showing up to the pro races. It's still cool to see what the even higher up pros are doing and kind of learn from them. So um, that does help grow the sport because we see them training in a certain way, and that kind of pushes us to go do that. So it's helpful all around.
Yeah, and I saw you were doing a lot of vlogs. You're putting videos out of your journey and like traveling, so that's good to see.
Yeah, I think it's pretty cool. Like I don't I don't necessarily do it specifically to grow my social platform and grow my own like name. I do it more so like in 10 years I can look back at it and be like, man, I forgot that I did that. I've had a lot of concussions, so my memory's not so good.
Yeah,
So to be able to go back and actually watch my first MotoGP race, watch when I won the British Championship, like have these events that are like documented and be able to go back and check it out. For me personally, that's more so what I do it for rather than anything else, just because I enjoy it and I also enjoy the creating side of it. I kind of me and a couple of my buddies, Ian and Billy, we'll sit down at the end of a day of filming and just be going over clips and like bouncing ideas off of each other and just like trying to grow the sport and show people how cool racing motorcycles is. And it's not always the easiest thing to make a clip that's going to go viral, but it is cool to sit down and try to create something that's going to blow up. So
yeah, and just you don't have to like have a storyboard or anything. You're just documenting, not creating. Just turn on the camera and this is my life. This is what's going on today.
yeah, that's pretty much what I do. Really, like I'm always at the track, so all the video looks like it's we planned a day around it, but it's usually just I'm going to the track, so we're gonna go film. Like
Right.
we try to film as much as we can, and it is expensive too because they have to eat. Like they need to get paid at some point, so um, we only get so many days of actually filming. But I would like to be able to show everybody what we do almost every day because it is a ton of training, a ton of riding, and not so much just chilling out. There's a lot of other stuff that I do behind the scenes to kind of keep my program rolling that people just have no idea.
Yeah, I bet. And are you putting out a film or anything soon? I saw, a while back, it was Johnny Rock Page put out like a film, and that's on Amazon now. So, you could always do something like that, help fund your program.
Yeah, I don't know. We're working on a little series. We're working on actually a couple different projects right now, film projects, but mainly we're working on a series for YouTube. That's probably going to be 10 parts, and it'll be pretty cool. It's a little concept video on the supermotos, and I'm looking forward to doing that. We've done already 10 days of filming and riding and stuff, and we got another 5 to 10 days planned coming up here in December, potentially January. But we're supposed to start releasing the series in January, so we already have the first bit of it filmed, and we're just waiting to finish that up. But that's going to be a cool project, and then we're always working on new ideas and stuff behind the scenes too, and trying to keep the creativity rolling and keep having fun with it and filming different things and just all the little stuff that we do because you never know, just filming random day in the life can you can wind up getting put in the position to be on I don't know, have your own Netflix series or something at some point down the line, and you've already got all these clips saved. Or you can just look down the line and it's a cool memory of you driving across the country with your buddies. Like
Yeah.
I just think it's cool to have, and it's just saving those memories and keeping that point in time and being able to go back and look at it and think about when you did that. I think it's so cool to be able to watch what I have accomplished and what I've done.
Yeah, and I used to follow Marcel Ernie. I don't know if you heard of him. He's a superbike racer, and he was just from Canada documenting his journey. And I thought that was so cool just to be able to follow along with him as he's going to all the different tracks and just see his journey, see his development and progression.
Yeah, no, it's definitely cool, but it's another thing that does take away time from training and riding. So you're filming, and yeah, okay, you're only filming what you're doing. You're not staging anything. You just pull out the camera and take a little video here and there. But that takes minutes away from your day. And then you get home, and then you got to unload the van. That takes minutes away from your day. And then you got to sort through all the footage. That takes a couple hours of time. Then you got to edit all the footage. And then you got to think about a plan of when you're going to upload and what time and what's the title and what's going to be the thumbnail. Like, you got so much stuff to think about just to kind of grow your social media that, like, it takes so much time to kind of start going in the right direction and getting it right. And it is a tricky thing to do. There's
Sounds
a
like
lot
you
of,
sounds like you need an intern or something.
yeah, I need somebody to help me free up some time. I'm spread so thin all the time. It's really early mornings and usually some pretty late nights, just working all the time trying to make the dream come true. So,
For sure. And with your training, are you doing a lot of like cardio, pedal bikes, or running or weights or anything like that?
I was doing a lot of cycling, and you kind of get burnt out after a while of doing so much cycling, especially road cycling, because you're usually in Florida, it's all flat roads and they're all straight. So you kind of get burnt out on that pretty quick. So I've been running quite a bit now, and I am trying to build a little bit on the upper body, kind of get a little bit thicker. So I've been doing a lot of not really a lot of weight stuff recently because I kind of went through a period of being sick recently and having a surgery and stuff. So I've had some time off pretty recently. I only just started training again, maybe 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. But but yeah, I do a little bit of gym stuff, a couple days a week, and then a lot of cycling and running, usually to keep my weight down. But riding the big boy bike, I can be a little bit thicker and not really worry about it too much. And then I do a little bit of Xbox training too. I sit on the Xbox and just play the tracks that we race, and just to it just keeps the image of it burned in your head.
I
And
said,
it's
what game are you using for that?
been playing a lot of Ride 4.
Okay.
And I actually just broke out the Rossi game again when I found out I was racing some flat track. I broke out the Rossi game and I was sitting there playing flat track. but but yeah, no, I do spend a little bit of time playing video games, and that actually does kind of help for me with actually riding for whatever reason. But you can only do so many hours of physical training a day, and after a certain point, it's not actually helping; it starts hurting you. So I've kind of got to that point at certain times in my career where I would kind of go overboard and be making myself sick from training so much and being so run down, especially with all the long drives and the late nights and not sleeping and not always eating healthy foods because you're traveling, and it doesn't help. And then you go training for a couple hours a day, and it just keeps running your body into a hole. And then you get a small injury at one of the races and you keep training, and it gets your body all kinds of bound up. So I've kind of eased off a little bit and kind of settled into more of a rhythm, and kind of trying to approach it a little bit more tactically and make gains rather than making mistakes. Um, so yeah, we're just trying to be a little bit more methodical about it and make bigger gains rather than just hammering myself into the ground all the time.
Yeah. You don't want to be overtraining and then get those mid-season injuries, and then now you're screwed. Now you can't train at
Exactly.
all.
Exactly. And I mean, even like right now, I probably sound a little run down. I haven't been as excited and energetic as I normally am, but I've been racing all weekend and then just drove home 7 or 8 hours. So people are probably gonna think like maybe I sound a little bit monotone or a little bit not so excited, or maybe I'm not saying the perfect thing all the time, but this is just how it is as racing motorcycles. You get home and like I actually wanted to do this and I wanted to hop on, and you even asked if I wanted to reschedule, and uh, I was like, no, let's do it tonight.
Yeah.
Let's get it going. And there's no excuse. That's just part of the life. Like people don't realize that we're just human and we get tired too, just like everybody else does. And people will judge you sometimes for it, but it's just part of it, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, working all day, riding a bike, and then having to drive home, staring at the lines for another 8 hours is that's draining. You did like 2 full work days today.
Yeah. People don't really realize that. Honestly, like I drove 7.5, 8 hours to Pensacola. Um, Rode all day the first day. I did all the practices, qualifying, heat races, main events. Got home from the track at 1 in the morning to where I was staying. Then you get up at 8. You got to work on bikes, get prepped, get back to the track, practice, qualifying, heat races, main events. Leave the track at 1 a.m. again. Then you got to be there at 8 a.m. the next day because there's two races on the final day. So you got
Yeah.
TT in the morning, which starts at like 10 o'clock. Then you race TT until 4 or 5 o'clock. Then it switches to the oval. And then you're there riding the oval until 10, 11, 12 o'clock at night. And then you got to get some sleep. And I drove home the next morning after that, 8 hours. Yeah, it's a lot. It's definitely draining. And I had just literally gotten done with a almost 3 week trip just a couple weeks before this trip. So, and that one was even more driving. That was like 80 hours of driving
Oof,
plus 10 days of riding. So,
man.
that was a big trip.
That's like half the way across the country.
Yeah. So I had drove, I'd finished the British Championship race, had a surgery on my nose, sat home, recovered for a little bit. Then I drove from New Jersey back down to Florida, got down here, built my 450 Supermoto from the frame up, which took me about a day. Then went and raced in Florida on the Supermoto all weekend, 2 or 3 days, just to get the blood going again. Hadn't raced in a while, hadn't ridden in a while. Loaded up the van, drove Monday morning from here where we're at on the east coast of Florida to Pensacola, 8 hours. Built an engine for my one bike, worked on bikes all day in Pensacola from the time I got there until I only had 24 hours to make it to Musselman Honda Circuit in Arizona.
Yeah.
And it turns out it was a 22-hour drive. I only had 24 hours to get there.
Oof,
So we
tight.
didn't get any sleep all the way there, get there, ride practice day, then finally get to the hotel and go to sleep. That was a little bit of relief getting through that. That was basically 2.5 days of staying up straight and then getting there and riding. So that was pretty gnarly. And then we rode at that track for 4 days straight. Took one day off, drove to Texas, which was 16 hours. Rode 2 days back to back in Texas, and then had a third day of filming in the streets. And then I had to drive from Texas all the way to Albany for Thanksgiving, and then from there all the way back down here to Florida. So, and almost all of that driving was by myself.
It's a lot of driving.
A lot of driving, a decent amount of riding, and some good times had along the way for sure.
Heck yeah, it's not always glamorous, but if you get to the track and get all the bikes out, everything works. It seems like it's such a relief.
Hey, it's definitely not the most glam life, and I think a lot of other people would think that it's one way, but shit, I love sleeping in my van and camping out at the track, and it's kind of what I grew up doing. We would drive to the races on a Thursday night, sleep in our old trailer, and race all weekend. Drive home, go to school Monday. So it's kind of just part of what I know, and that's just how I know what racing is, you know. So I
I like waking up at the racetrack, not having to go anywhere, and
yeah.
save a lot of money in hotels.
Yeah, exactly. Stay at the track, and you never know. Certain events, you might catch a party at night at the track, and have some fun with your friends, ride around on pit bikes, and yeah, growing up sleeping at the track's kind of a fun thing to do because you got all your buddies there that are also bad influences on you, and you go screwing around on pit bikes and having fun and just hanging out with everybody else that rides and like-minded people. So it's definitely more fun to be at the track than to be in a hotel.
Oh yeah, you get to meet a lot of people, and like you said, mostly like-minded. They're just like you. They want to be out there and ride and have fun and do it the right way instead of being a hooligan on the streets, right?
Yeah, exactly. Instead, we're all the kids. We're just hooligans in the pits.
Yep. It's a private facility. You can do whatever you want there.
Yeah, except you get to like NJMP and they still consider the roads that are inside the gates. Those are still public roads apparently. So
Oh,
the
really?
state troopers still patrol those roads. Yeah,
I did
so
not
you can get
know.
it inside the gates of the track.
Oh man. I heard they're supposed to be repaving that track this year.
Yeah, I've heard that too, and I've been included on some of the like talks about it and stuff. Like I've been hearing some of the behind the scenes stuff, and it's pretty interesting what they're doing. And I really hope that it comes out pretty well because that's my home track. No matter how far away I move, that's my home track. So I'll always love that track, and it's not my favorite layout. Don't get me wrong, but I love riding there, and the fact of growing up riding there and then still going back there now as a pro, it's pretty cool. And yeah, I'm hoping that the new pavement has a lot of grip and is nice and smooth because it definitely got bumpy around there the past couple of years. So it'll be nice to have that repaved and everybody can go smash some lap records.
And it sounds like they might have a slightly different layout coming out, so some of the turns might be a little modified.
Yeah, there's a couple different layouts that are coming. They're going to change the second half of the track up a little bit. I think the first half of the track will stay the same, and then the second half of the track they're going to make a couple different variations. I guess for mainly for cars. I'm pretty sure that's what it's about. Is mainly for the cars, but I think also track days. And then it'll be interesting to see if Moto America runs the same layout or if they change it, or if they wind up doing. We've done 2 races at NJMP in 1 year in the past, so it'll be interesting if maybe they'll do 2 races there again, but with 2 different layouts. That would be pretty cool.
Yeah, it'd be interesting. And I heard they want to connect both of their tracks together.
Yeah, I've not heard too much about that. I think that would be a pretty difficult thing to do because the way that they have it laid out, they have one track here, and then smack dab in the center is they have a restaurant. There's like a pub, restaurant, and a pool. So I really don't know how they would connect that around the pub without not being able to use their facilities there. So it would be cool for sure. It'd be like a big old like Road America kind of deal, or a Miller Motorsports Park, well, Utah Motorsports Campus, whatever it's called now, but be something like that where it's just a massive track. It'd be pretty cool.
But I hear that the other track is not really safe for bikes. There's a lot of guardrails in the way and things like that.
Yeah, I mean, it's a little sketchy in some spots, but it's a fun layout. The other track there is really fun to ride, but it is a little bit sketchy in some areas for sure.
Looks like a lot of elevation too.
Yeah, it's actually pretty cool that they have a track in New Jersey that's got some elevation. That's kind of unheard of for the Northeast. It's usually pretty flat tracks up there. So, yeah, it's actually got quite a bit of elevation. Turn 1 straight up a hill and then right back down a hill, and then there's a corner that's the apex is at the top of this hill, and it's pretty cool. It's pretty badass. They got a big old light bulb which is pretty much wide open and it's banked.
Okay.
Nice long right handers, pretty much like I said, wide open. So
now, do you have a specific type of track that you like, whether it's fast entry corners or banked corners or really fast straightaways? Like, is there a type of track that suits your riding style?
I really like the tight and technical tracks, which is kind of not really a surprise to me because I've been riding a lot of go-kart tracks over the past few years. So I'll do a lot of like the supermoto stuff on the kart track. And for me, that equates to a 1000 on a big track pretty well. Like it's a lot of power with not a lot of space. And then you get to like the nice tight technical tracks, and it requires a lot of technique and skill to go fast around them. So for me, it's more fun when you can be super technical about your riding and kind of have to push the thing pretty hard to go fast and really know what you're doing.
And then seems like everybody's question who isn't involved with motorcycle racing is like, well, how fast do you go? Right? That's like the number one thing.
Yeah. Everybody loves to ask me how fast you're going. Usually I have no idea because all our race bikes, we take all the mile an hour number off because you don't want to be looking down on a straight and see that you're going that fast because it makes your brain feel like you're going that fast once you know that that's how fast you're going. Whereas without it, you can't really tell. Like, you know you're going fast, but you can't tell that you're going that fast.
Yeah.
So for me, I never run anything that has the mile an hour on it. Of course, we find out looking at data, the numbers in there, but you never actually know when you're in the moment, at least for me.
And when you're going the fastest on the straightaway is right before you're starting to be braking anyway. So it's like that's the worst time to be looking down at your gauges, right when you're starting to come up to a braking zone. So not ideal. And a lot of organizations will actually tape up your speedometer so you can't even see it, like with painter's tape or something, because it's a distraction for a lot of people.
Oh, for sure. It's definitely a distraction. And yeah, I don't know. Like you said, the fastest point is right before you get on the brakes. So you don't need that going on and looking down and going, oh shit, I'm doing 185 miles an hour. I better slow my ass down. Well, by the time you just thought about all that, you just wasted 30 feet
Yeah.
of distance of braking. So yeah, you just don't need to look at it. It's better to not look at it and keep your eyes up, keep focused on the track, and trying to do the best job you can at the task at hand. So
And I think the worst part about looking at your speed is like if you achieved, say, 160 on the straightaway last time, you're like, okay, well, I'll brake when I hit 160. Well, maybe you didn't exit as fast as you did this next time, and you hit 160 when you're in the dirt.
yeah, that's why you got to have brake points that are solid. Like you got to be braking at a tree or um, even a cone is a little sketchy because that cone can move. Somebody can hit the cone and then the cone's gone. You don't know where to brake. So you got to find solid references that aren't going to move.
Yeah, no porta potties, no cars, no plastic bags.
Yeah, like you got to find something that's solid that isn't going to move. And for your brake markers and for your turning points, like to a blind corner, you gotta have a reference somewhere, but it needs to be a solid reference that isn't going to move on you. Because even the boards at Moto America, um, I don't think this has happened recently, but I've heard stories about people going out overnight on the track and moving the boards.
Hmm.
So if you're breaking at a certain number board, well, that number board could be in a different spot the next day or the next year when you come to that track. It's not always going to be in the same spot. So you gotta have something that isn't gonna move and that you know isn't gonna move. So
Yeah, for sure. No shadows either. Those are bad.
yeah, exactly. I'm guilty of breaking at shadows, using shadows as brake markers, and especially in BSB where they have like these low bridges that go over the track. And I guess technically I would be using the bridge as the marker, but when the sun's out, you kind of use the shadow. And I mean, really, you're just using the bridge, but looking at it on the floor. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I've done it, but it's definitely not ideal.
So, what is something that you're working on nowadays? They're trying to get better at on the track.
On the track, I'm working on my timing with the brakes and releasing the brakes and stuff like that. I struggled quite a bit this year with that little bit in the middle of the corner, getting the bike turned and then finishing the corner. So for me, it's just all about the timing of how and when I'm releasing the brake in the middle of the corner and getting that thing to turn.
So you're trail braking on corner entry.
Yeah, yeah, I'm definitely working on trail braking a little bit. Like not necessarily changing where I brake or how hard I brake, but um, yeah, it's a lot to go into. But just the main thing is to get the bike turned a couple extra degrees in the middle of the corner without losing any mile an hour. That's the biggest thing we're working.
Yeah. And are you using rear brake or using like a thumb brake or the standard foot brake?
For the rear brake, I just use the standard foot brake. Um, I do have a thumb brake, but not on my race bike. So I do want to try using it. I've literally never used it before, but it looks pretty badass. And I know a lot of people that do run them. So I would like to try it. But in the stock class here, you're not allowed to run it. So I just run the foot brake. And honestly, I don't really use that much back brake anymore, anyways. It was kind of on the Suzuki, it didn't like it. It caused a lot of chatter on the front end. So
Hmm.
I had to stop using the back brake altogether this year because it just hated it. Anytime I would touch it, it would chatter so bad you'd almost fall down. So I've been kind of staying away from it.
I gotcha. I think a lot of people use it for like elevation, like coming down last corner of Road Atlanta to keep the rear end down, stuff like that. Those situations.
Yeah, yeah, no, I definitely use it in certain situations and for different scenarios still, but I like to slide the thing into the corner quite a bit and like kind of back the bike into the corner and stuff like that. And the Suzuki just wasn't about it. It did not like it at all. So I kind of had to change my style a little bit this year and kind of make myself suit the bike more than make the bike suit me.
Okay. And then on the flip side of that, what is something you think you do well that that you have a strong suit in on the bike?
Um, Honestly, I don't really know. I'm pretty good on the brakes. I know I'm good on the brakes because that's usually where I'm passing people is on the brakes. Um, but I also like to think that I'm pretty good with my like bike control, like putting the bike where it needs to be. I feel like I'm pretty good at that. I
Like
can
line
slide
choice?
everything. Yeah, line. I'm decent at line choice, but sometimes I do make some boneheaded line choices, and I'll come back in, and my team will be like, "Dude, what are you doing?" And we'll be looking at line choice on the computer, and we're like, "Jesus Christ, I'm an idiot." But um, but yeah, no. Sometimes I'm good at that. Sometimes I'm not. It really depends on the track. Like if we show up to a new track, for example, this year, I showed up to tracks that I've ridden on the 600, and I really struggled to go fast on the 1000, even though I was fast at some of them on the 600. And it was because I was doing the same lines that I would ride on the 600, and it would be hard to break that habit. Where like I would go somewhere new, like we went to Brainerd this year, and I was fast right away. And it was because I understood how to ride the bike, but it was hard for me to break that habit of the lines that I was already running and the lines that I knew work on a certain bike. It's hard to like kind of erase that memory and restart. So
Yeah, it gotta be more point and shoot versus the carry more corner speed.
yeah, 100%. That's just common knowledge really on how to ride the 1000. Is just very point and shoot and kind of triangulate all the corners, be them off as much as you can. But it's definitely easier said than done. It's not an easy thing to master, and I still mess it up now, and I've been working on it all year. So it's something that takes time, and it just takes laps to figure it out.
And it's kind of strange, the lightweight class might actually be going faster than you mid corner than you would on a 1000, just because you gotta get it stopped and then get it turned.
Yeah, for sure. The middleweight class, definitely. I mean, the 600s, you're definitely able to go faster through the middle of the corner. But then you'll see like certain 1000s, like the Yamaha, you can carry kind of a lot of corner speed and still get the thing to turn. Whereas like the Suzuki, you try to carry one more mile an hour than the bike wants you to, and you're going to be either on your head or pointed in the wrong direction off the corner. So
Yeah. Is there an ideal manufacturer you'd like to be riding with, whether it's BMW or Yamaha, Suzuki, MV Augusta, maybe?
um, honestly, there's not really any company that I'm like, oh, I have to ride that. Like at least not right now, anyways. Like I'm more than happy to ride anything. But there are definitely some bikes that I think look like they would work better. Like for example, in the stock class, that BMW looks really hot right now. Like that thing looks like it's working good. So I wouldn't mind trying one of those, but there's nothing that I'm like, oh, I need to ride that. Obviously, that attack bike is pretty damn good in the superbike class, and I'd love to get a shot on one of those one day. But so would everybody else in the paddock. So I
Yeah.
need to get some results in what I'm doing now, and just hope that I get the opportunity one day down the line.
You just need to find another Michael Jordan type character to help fund the team.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's so tricky to get people into racing like that, and that was kind of a very one-off, lucky kind of deal where he was just super into racing motorcycles and thought it was the coolest thing ever. And those people come around every now and again, but they're definitely not easy to find.
Yeah, you got to be on like some special list just to get his phone number.
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
And is there anything on your mind you wanted to talk about today we haven't covered?
Um, Honestly, not really. I don't think. I think we pretty much covered a decent amount of it. Um, yeah, I mean, we talked a lot about like the privateer kind of thing and sleeping in the van some nights and stuff like that. And that's kind of what I like to show the people more of is the actual stuff going on behind the scenes rather than what everybody wants you to see, you know?
Yeah,
So,
it's like I said, it's not as glamorous as some people think, but we're not rock stars. We're just racers. We're just trying to track and do it as cheaply as possible so we can buy all the tires that we need.
yeah, no, for sure. It's not the easiest life to live, honestly. It is a lot of work, and people don't realize how hard the work actually is to keep this show going. And people are going to say that it sounds like I'm complaining or I'm not grateful for it. And I absolutely love it. Like I literally wouldn't do anything else. But it is very tiring and very draining, but it's also what I love to do. So you're going to do what you got to do to keep doing what you love doing. And, yeah, it's a wild industry and a wild, thing to be a part of.
Do you have any aspirations of making the switch to four wheels?
Uh, Not at the moment, honestly. If I was gonna, it would probably be rally car,
Okay.
just because I think rally's pretty cool. But I'd wind up hitting a tree pretty hard, I think.
Doing like stages and checkpoints and all that through the forest.
Yeah, I don't know. Honestly, I think if I was gonna do some stuff like that, honestly, I probably wouldn't even want to do like an organized event. I think I'd want to just go drive for fun
Yeah.
because like I would wind up getting too competitive with it and taking all the fun out of it. Whereas for me, like just going out in like a car that's got some power and you can like kind of light the thing up, drift it a little bit, and just have fun. I think I would take the having fun from here to like all the way up here,
Yeah.
and and I would just pass the point of having fun, and then it would become miserable and feel like work. So I think I wouldn't probably race one though.
All right. To each their own. And where can people find you online? Where are you out there on the internet?
I've been on Instagram quite a bit. It's at Brandon_Paasch, Paasch. I've kind of toned it back a little bit. I was posting a lot, but I just kind of I do still post a decent amount, but nothing too crazy. And then I've been really posting a lot on YouTube. That's just my first and last name, Brandon Paasch, and we post a lot of supermoto videos and then race weekend videos and stuff on the road race side of things, and also Facebook, Brandon Paasch Racing. We've been growing a lot on all the different social platforms recently, and I've been putting in a lot of work as to timing the posts and all the behind the scenes stuff on growing your socials and stuff like that. I've been actually doing a lot of research and posting a lot and posting stuff that I also think is cool. I don't necessarily just post what like gets clicks and what gets views. I post what I personally think is cool, and that just so happens to be getting a decent amount of like clicks right now. So it's pretty awesome being able to go do what I love and just enjoy doing it, and have a couple of my really close friends come out, take some photos, take some videos, and we just throw it up because we're like, that was such a fun day,
Yeah,
and that shit was so cool, and people are loving it. Like I post some stuff that's been going kind of crazy, and just it's just me having fun. Like it's not anything. I don't know. It's not anything that I wouldn't normally do. It's just me having fun and some photos and videos that I personally really like. And yeah, I don't know. I think it's super cool. So anybody that's on the socials, go check it out, and it's pretty sick. You won't regret it.
for sure. Yeah, everybody go check out those videos. I just love seeing the behind the scenes stuff and seeing the raw footage. Like this podcast, I probably won't edit out anything. It's just gonna be 100%. There it is. This is me. This is you. We're not staging anything, and like it or you don't.
Yeah, no, that's how I think it should be. I don't think you should be not you in particular. I'm just saying people in
Yeah,
general. I think that you shouldn't give a shit what people think, and you should post what you like and what you do, and just be real. Like there's no reason to kind of try and change your reality through social media because it catches up with you anyways down the line. Like sooner or later, even if it does pop off and you kind of grow your stuff, like people are gonna start calling you on your bluff. So you might as well just be yourself from the start and be who you are and just have fun with it.
for sure. So, upcoming events, where will you be at next?
Next flat track race is Winter Throwdown in January here in Florida, and then after that, we won't really have any racing going on until March, Daytona
Okay.
for the 200. So I'll be showing up defending my crown again, and not releasing any other information on that just yet, but I'll be back.
All right. And then doing any testing rounds before the season on the superbike?
I would hope so. Hopefully, we get some kind of testing in. I need to spend some time on the bike, whether it's no matter what I'm riding, super sport, super bike, super stock. It doesn't matter. I need to get some test days in and get some riding in and keep the rust off and just stay sharp. So,
Well, very good. I'll be keeping my eye out for it. and that's about an hour and a half, so we could probably cut it there. And
Sweet.
I'll be sure to get this edited and posted pretty soon here. So just make sure you share it when it comes out. And
Perfect.
thanks for talking to me, man. I appreciate it. And
Yeah.
I'll see you at the racetrack, I'm sure.
Dude, definitely. Thanks for having me on. Sorry if I kind of sounded like a dummy at some points. I'm so tired. I'm like, I'll be like in the middle of a sentence and start losing train of thought a little bit. I'm like having to reel myself back in. I'm really bad at that stuff, especially like once I get like a little bit of mental fatigue and just get tired in general. I get kind of bad with it. So sorry if I didn't sound all the way in at some points.
Oh, you're
It's
good,
not.
man. I understand you did a lot of driving today, and it's exhausting. So if you want, we can always do a follow up. I'd like to do a space them out a year in between, so that we can see how you did last year and all that stuff, and get a good recap.
Yeah, for sure. Let's do it. Just let me know. Stay
All
in
right,
contact. Sure.
very good. I will, and have a good one, man. I'll see you at the track.
Thank you. I'll see you.
All right, bye.
Bye.